The opinions expressed in the Brothers on Law show are for informational purposes only and are not a substitute for personal professional legal advice.
Thanks for tuning in to Brothers on Law on Go Country 105. I'm Larry Mandell.
And I'm Rob Mandell.
And we've been trial attorneys here in Los Angeles for over 40 years.
On our show, we will discuss current events, talk about legal issues, and have some very entertaining guests stop by. So stay tuned every week for Brothers on Law right here on Go Country 105.
Brothers on Law.
Good morning, everyone. We're Brothers on Law. I'm Larry Mandell.
And I'm Rob Mandell.
And, you know, the weather's starting to change here, isn't it, Rob?
Starting to get a little chilly. It's good to see that the holidays are coming around the corner. Man, this year went by like lightning.
Oh, unbelievable. Fall time. I love it. All right.
Hey, Larry, do you remember when, it's really a sad thing when you see your folks getting on. And our folks were getting on some years back. And our dad, who was really a sweetheart of a guy, all of a sudden, though, he didn't like to see people who were all incapacitated and elderly. You remember that?
Yeah. He was intolerant for a couple of different reasons.
Yeah,
that was one of them.
Yeah, it was a weird thing to see this really sweetheart of a guy become intolerant. And I finally figured out it was because he didn't want to be that person.
The fear of getting older.
Yeah, the fear of being that person who was basically
incapacitated.
Checked out. And so he kind of checked out of life, to avoid being that person, it seemed to me.
Yeah.
But it is a problem that everybody faces ultimately, and our generation is getting on now.
You are, Rob, I must say. Look at that.
And a lot of us still have folks around. They're lucky enough to have their folks, but they could be in these bad, tough situations. And
which leads us to what, Rob?
Well, we're going to be talking today with a gentleman who has special expertise in taking care of folks like this, and his name is John Mason. He runs Bright Star Care. Welcome to the show, John.
Oh, thank you, Rob.
Welcome.
Great to be here.
Welcome, John.
Thank you. Yeah, this is great.
So, John, this is a problem, right? I mean, this is an issue that so many of us are facing right now. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely, Rob. I mean, as everyone knows, it's the aging boomer generation. There's actually 10,000 people turn 65 every day from now until about 2025. So it's a huge population of people.
The baby boomers, basically, right,
yeah,
John?
Absolutely.
That's a lot of old folks walking around.
Oh,
Yes,
my
it
God.
is.
10,000 of them.
What are we going to do with
day.
What are we going to do with all these people? John, what are we going to do?
So tell us about what you do.
Well, I have a home care agency, so I send people into the home to help folks. Because, as people get older, most everyone wants to stay home.
Right.
So my business helps people do that. I have caregivers that go into the house and help them make a meal, get in and out of the bathroom or shower. If they're not driving anymore, they'll take them to appointments or to the doctor's office. So it's some help in the home.
So, John, what's the criteria for that? I mean, is it just that somebody calls and says that we need help, or do you do like a checklist? You go in there and kind of question them at
The
first?
criteria is they're getting old and they need help.
Rob, come on.
What a question.
Rob, wait a minute. No. Just because you're old like you doesn't mean that you need help, but maybe you do. Yeah. But anyway, so John, answer my question. What do you think?
Sneaking through.
John?
Well, I have an agency, so I have a director of nursing. So we go out, the nurse comes out, and she does an assessment. So she has a checklist of things. She checks their mobility, how can you stand and walk? What are you eating? She takes the blood pressure, some vital signs, and also cognitively, if people, what their memory's like, she does a brief memory test. And then she examines the home to see if it's safe, because falls are a common thing as people get over, so she makes sure that there's no loose rugs, maybe recommend grab bars. So she does a full assessment.
Is there ever a time where you say, look, we have to put this person in an assisted living home. We can't provide 24-hour care, or do you?
We do provide 24-hour care, but almost everyone, as disease progresses, they'll come to a point where they'll have to go to a nursing home or a hospital or assisted living because they're just not able to care for them in the home anymore.
So this is not necessarily alternative to an assisted living or nursing home environment.
No, it's usually the step before.
Step before.
Depending on how, what your illness is, if it's progressing, eventually someone's going to need some nurses around all the time to help them.
That sounds terrible, because if I was in that situation, I just want to be home. I don't want to be in one of those nursing homes.
No.
But
those are places look terrible.
But Rob, John, from a personal note, that's where my father-in-law is now. We did have people coming in and helping him. He has Alzheimer's. He's stage 5 to 6, and we finally had to place him in an assisted living home. Unfortunately.
Poor guy.
Yeah, and he's got incontinence, so many things. It's just so sad. He really doesn't identify or know who we are anymore.
Is there guilt with that? Is there a little guilt?
I bet there is, No, I mean
on your part. Do you have some guilt?
Not me, but maybe my wife.
But I mean, isn't that kind of a natural thing that, that you got the person who's incapacitated, or they just, no one can really handle them at home anymore.
Yeah.
And now you're putting them in one of these places, and how do you feel about that, right?
Yeah, that's a really difficult family decision, but there certainly comes a point where they just, like in that example, they're wandering a lot. They have to be watched all the time. They become a danger to themselves, Sometimes it's funny things. I've had people like, where's my wallet? Oh, it's in the refrigerator. They find that kind of thing. Or, what's that smell? And, the stove's been on and the water's boiled down to nothing and it's smoking now. So you just never know.
I got to digress for just a moment because our Aunt Stella, God bless her, she was in her mid-90s.
Yeah.
And we ended up putting her in an assisted living home. And at one point, she had a pocketbook, like a wallet, and she could not find it. And so she employed me to try to find the wallet for her. So after about 30 to 40 minutes of looking and looking and looking, going through the refrigerator of all things, and it turned out that she was sitting on it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's still, you've been sitting on your wallet.
And the whole time she's saying, somebody stole it, somebody stole it.
And somebody was me, it looked like.
So, John, how does someone, get your kinds of services then?
Well, most people find us online. Just about everyone now will Google home care and the zip code where they live and just see what comes up. Some people also go privately, like they'll just find a friend of the family. Oh, I've got a great caregiver, and they'll recommend them. And some folks will even look on Craigslist to find caregivers.
But how does one figure out, Larry talked about criteria.
You didn't like that question, though, Rob.
I guess
now you're adopting
now that it's my turn to talk, I like that question.
Is that a little brother or what?
Yeah.
It's a better question.
Hey, John.
I'm just wondering, when do you say to yourself, geez, I just got to get some help for my dad or my mom or my aunt or whatever,
Yeah, usually, people can kind of see it coming, but everyone resists that. My own mom is 90, and she lives up in Northern California. She actually fell in San Francisco on one of the hills.
Oh, my.
Not knowing it, she broke her arm. Oh. Tough old lady. She gets up, she walks to Bart, takes Bart home, drives from Bart to her house, and then the next day calls and my arm still hurts. I think I did something.
She's driving at 90. Wait, she's driving at 90 years old
with a broken arm
in San Francisco hills. Guess what? Lots of traffic.
She's a tough lady, and she does not want any help. She's very independent. So that's very common, that resistance to getting some care.
John, as an expert in this arena, did you suggest any alternatives for your mom?
Well, funny thing is she won't tell me because she knows I have a home care business. She tells my brother, and then he tells me, did you know Mom fell and broke her arm? Like, no, I didn't know that. She didn't even tell me.
That's crazy.
We're Larry and Rob Mandell, the Brothers-in-Law, here on Go Country 105. Do you have a legal issue you need help with? We want to hear from you.
Find us on Instagram and send us a message. Then tune in on Saturdays at 8 a.m. right here on Go Country 105. Hey, if you missed any part of this show or you just want to hear it again, go to brothersonlaw.com for all of our previous shows and all things Brothers on Law. So how widespread is this issue? You were talking about 10,000 people turning 65 every day, but so that, as we get healthier as we are older, I take it that a lot of those 65-year-olds have moms and dads and relatives in their 90s or whatnot.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. So is this becoming more and more people are in this boat?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just about everyone's parents are getting older and they're deciding what to do. And it's and can be if you plan well, they can age in their home. The term they use is age in place, so you get to stay where you're at with a little help. But sometimes people wait too long and something will happen.
Right.
They'll kind of delay, and then like there's a big fall and a hospitalization, or now they can't walk and it's very serious, and it can lead to a real panic situation. Where
Right.
you're like, my mom's coming out of the hospital, she can't even walk anymore.
What do I find?
Yeah, what do I do?
That's
I
what
have to go to
happened
work. Yeah.
That's what happened to my father-in-law.
Yeah.
Because he fell a couple of times, and one time he fell and just flat out hit his head onto the pavement.
Poor guy.
It was just terrible. So I wanted to ask you this, John, insurance. How do we pay for this? Will any insurance cover your home care, aid and et cetera?
If you have a long-term care insurance, which you may be familiar with, is like a life insurance policy, but you have to
Right.
take that out. Health insurance does not. They separate medical care and non-medical, and this is considered non-medical care. Health insurance does not cover.
Of course they don't cover.
Yeah, of course they don't.
Yeah.
There is a push. Yeah, I mean, with so many seniors, Medicare is trying to change, but it's a slow motion. They're trying to make some funds available to pay for non-medical care.
Well, isn't it a pre-existing condition?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. If you think about it, I mean, that's the loophole I would. Now we're segueing into the legal aspect of this, but I can see creative lawsuits trying to figure out a way to get coverage for these kinds of things.
Well, you think it's a medical condition, right?
It is. Aging
Dementia,
is a medical condition.
Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
Come on.
If you are already over the age of 65, and all of a sudden now you need home health care,
Yeah.
that's a pre-existing condition that they shouldn't deny you for.
Yeah. I like that, Rob.
Yeah.
Let's start a movement.
Well, I mean, send us a case, John.
All right.
Where you need, someone needs to pay for your services
Yes.
and they're being denied.
Okay.
But how else? So how do people end up paying for this then? If they didn't have the foresight to get the long-term health insurance. The health insurance is denying the claim. The Medicare or Medi-Cal or whatever is denying the claim.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Well, then people will, it's out of pocket, just pay out of pocket. The family will pool funds. If you're a veteran, there's actually a veteran's benefit. It's called an aid and attendance benefit.
Wow.
And if you served one day at active duty during wartime, Vietnam War, Korean War, World War II.
Iraq.
Yeah, any active duty wartime veteran receives this benefit, and you have to fill out some forms to qualify, but that will pay, I think, up to $1,200 a month for this non-medical care.
That's something I didn't know about.
That's pretty
That's
cool.
good.
What
Yeah.
exactly do your people do for these folks? What are the exact services that they're providing?
I think it depends on the person, right, John?
Yeah, it's a general categories they call activities of daily living. So it's bathing, dressing, grooming, going to the bathroom, eating, walking, and continence care. So
I see.
that's the list.
What about meal preparation?
Yeah, they do meal prep and some light housekeeping, wash some dishes, do some laundry, and also some transportation.
Do they provide like the prescription medicine?
Yes, and medication reminders.
Right.
So if they have, one of those cassettes of medicines, they'll, bring them the pills and a glass of water and say, all right, it's time to take your medicine, to make sure they're getting
So
the
I have
right
a question,
dose.
Rob. I know you do, but I have one first.
Okay, no,
Is
I
it-
had mine first.
You just moved your mouth, but nothing came out.
I
Though.
went, rah.
But
I want to go ahead.
is it only for elder care, or, for instance, we have brain injured clients that could benefit from this a care for activities of daily living. So is it only for elder care, or does your agency also provide for somebody who's had a brain injury?
Yeah, we would help folks like that. The bulk of who I help are elderly folks, but we've had spinal cord injury patients, some head injury, some those types of patients periodically. Yeah, so we help them.
And is their care any different?
No, we train our folks, so we definitely want them trained because that's a more delicate situation. It's more medically involved. So my nurse would do the assessment and then train the caregiver. Like, this is how you transfer someone, this is how you help them in the bathroom, so that they know what they're doing before they walk in.
How is that not medical care?
Yeah.
Well, that's how the medical community defines it, right?
Yeah.
I would say so. I mean, they need medical help, but the medical community, it's like if you're a medical care would be giving a shot, or like if you have diabetes and you're insulin dependent and you need a shot, that's considered medical care,
Right.
an invasive procedure.
I see.
Well, so because my father-in-law, Medicare does cover some of it for a nurse that goes in there, and with a catheter and all this other stuff. So, do you see that happening in your agency, where there is some Medicare payment?
Yeah, because they pay for the visits, like a nurse visit or a physical therapist to come out to, especially after a hospitalization. They'll say, okay, you can have 6 or 8 weeks of home health care, which would be a nurse or a physical therapist that comes out.
So Medicare does pay for some of the services that you provide.
Stay connected with us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and of course, brothersonlaw.com.
Hey, if you missed any part of this show or you just want to hear it again, go to brothersonlaw.com for all of our previous shows and all things Brothers on Law.
Okay, so you got this incapacitated person in their home. They may be elderly, or usually they're elderly, some form of dementia sometimes, right?
Yeah.
How do you monitor the folks that you send over there to make sure that they're not taking advantage of these, because we deal with elder abuse cases, and really tough stuff to see.
Those are terrible.
It's really brutal. So, how do you kind of safeguard against that kind of thing?
Well, with our folks, we check them out. We do a background check. We do a drug screen, a TB test, a physical. So anyone we send into the home has to have all those documents. And then my nurse trains them. We have quarterly training. And then she goes out every 3 months to check, see how things are going. And they submit weekly notes, and my nurse reviews the notes. So if anything happens, she's on top of that. And what you're saying, Rob, is a real issue, because really, the agency is a more expensive option, and a lot of people will hire someone just privately because it's less, but you take on some risk with that because there's no supervision.
Right.
You may not know who this person is. Something may happen to their family and they're gone. They have to leave suddenly and you're left without a caregiver. So there's some risk with that, although it is a cost savings.
I got to tell this story because before my father-in-law went into the assisted living, he had a private person that came in. And then they went to the movies one day. They took an Uber there, and on the way back, the caregiver,
I remember this.
The caregiver got my father-in-law in the car, and then closed the trunk, and the Uber driver just took off without the caregiver. So it's just my father-in-law and the Uber driver.
Your father-in-law has no idea where he's going.
He's like,
I'm still at the movies?
Yeah. We're going for a ride.
I don't know where.
Yeah. So that was not a good thing for us. So.
Oh, the guy's running after the car.
Right.
Wait for me. You just took my... Oh, my God.
Yeah, but stuff happens like you're describing, Rob, where especially things often will go along fine for a long time. But if dementia develops, and let's say, it's your mom and they have a great relationship, and now she has some dementia and she's a little more ornery, and she says some nasty stuff to the caregiver.
Right.
And then the caregiver gets mad, and all of a sudden it just breaks down. And they're fighting now, and that could lead to some real problems.
Right.
So you have to be careful, who you have in your home.
And if someone in the home, like does something bad or takes something, steals something, what do you guys do about that? If you're in that situation, or if you've ever faced that situation, I don't know if you have, but
Yeah, well, I have insurance. I have just general liability insurance, so we go investigate it. Often it's misplaced. I mean, I've had this happen, like you were describing. I was sitting on it.
Yeah. And still.
So we go, but we investigate, and if it is missing, something stolen, then we replace it. We just do a replacement cost through my insurance. Or sometimes they'll be moving someone and break a lamp. That happens, or someone slips and falls, and something's broken. We'll replace that as well.
Oh, well, good stuff.
Have you suffered or been injured by someone else's negligence? When you need a legal team that will stand up for what is right, won't give up the fight and obtain justice, call 818-886-6600. Mandell Trial Lawyers specializes in personal injury cases of all types. Whether it's a car accident, product or premises liability, dog bite, or a catastrophic injury, Mandell Trial Lawyers are there for you when the fight is worth it. Call now for your free consultation. 818-886-6600. Let the scales of justice tip in your favor.
So, our producer, Kamala, has a question.
Kamala
Yes.
is in the room.
Yeah. I just changed her name.
It's Cameron.
Cameron.
See the senility?
It's
John. It's John. We're going to need you for somebody over
early
here.
signs there.
Yes.
I vote to put Robin home immediately.
I do too.
Right?
Can we get a replacement?
I'll drive you over.
Brothers,
I'll get you an
ex-brothers
Uber.
on law.
I'll take home care instead.
Okay. So I'm dealing with the current situation. It is not a good situation. It's very bleak and very depressing if you really wrap your head around it. I have a family friend who has no family. His sons want nothing to do with him. It's a real fallen from grace cat story. And we're left now with, he is in his 70s. He had a stroke several years ago and never properly rehabbed the arm. So now we're dealing with balance issues. He's falling. He's in a temporary housing situation that isn't going to last forever. And the only money he gets is his Social Security, which is just under $2,000 a month. So how do I help him get into a place that he can have care? I can't risk a fall. He says he's deteriorating mentally. This is all very scary and something I've never dealt with before. I tell my mom, you better not fall because I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So who do I call, or are there any resources for him?
Well, in that situation, there is some government services. Medi-Cal has in-home supportive services, IHSS, that will come in and they can do an evaluation and provide some care. And you can use that evaluation then to approach a nursing home, because Medicare or Medi-Cal will pay for a nursing home at a certain income level. So if you can get in-home supportive services there to do an assessment, and if they don't do it, I will do it for no charge. I can send my nurse and I'll do that for you, just so you can have that document to say, okay, here's his health issues, here's what he needs. He obviously would qualify for care in your facility.
And is he a veteran?
No, I was like, we'd be saved if you were a veteran. But also, I did find out something that when you call 211 on your phone, that is basically like a helpline for so many different scenarios. You have a homeless person that you see is in dire straits of help, and let's see, any type of reporting non-emergency information. So I called, and it's basically Adult Protective Services, and I made a report. And a social worker is going to go over and visit with him. But they say it can be up to 10 days. If he's falling 3 times a day, we're on, the clock is ticking.
Oh, yeah.
So, but was that the right move to make, to call and get a social worker out there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, good.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay,
'cause he's a danger.
Thank you.
Oh, you're
Hey,
welcome.
Rob, we have a tip of the day.
Go
Can
ahead.
you tell us? Oh, I will. Well, it's flu season, and so don't forget to get your flu shot. Seniors can request the flu shot to help them stay extra protected during this year, the flu season. So don't forget to wash your hands often and steer clear of friends and family that are sick.
All right. That's a good tip of the day, Larry. It's time for the true or false segment that we do here on the show. So, John, in North Carolina, bingo games cannot last for more than 5 hours. True or false?
Bingo.
I'm going to say true.
And our producer says it
Yes!
is.
Yes!
Those North Carolinians know how to run bingo, let me tell you.
That's right. It goes on too long if you don't put a timer.
They're probably asleep by that. The
Yeah,
elderly
5
people are
hours,
asleep.
Come on. That should be
lot of
that is a
bingo.
good law, if you ask me. All right, and folks, if you know someone who's in this situation and you feel like they have not been provided good care, or they've been abused in any way, shape, or form, you can call us. We'll check out that case and see what we think, and hopefully help you guys out. And you can call us at 818-886-6600 anytime.
Yeah, and that applies to a person that's suffered a traumatic brain injury too.
That's right.
So
That's right.
And we've had some shows, previous shows, so you could go to our podcast or go to YouTube and hear about our victim, our client, Ray, who suffered a traumatic brain injury.
Right. We had a 2-part series on that recently aired, and it's very important that people in that situation not only get the proper care, like John can set them up with, but also protect their legal rights.
Proper legal representation,
Right.
yes.
And so don't be shy. Give us a call.
We're Larry and Rob Mandell, the brothers-in-law, here on Go Country 105. Do you have a legal issue you need help with? We want to hear from you.
Find us on Instagram and send us a message. Then tune in on Saturdays at 8 a.m. right here on Go Country 105. Hey, if you missed any part of this show or you just want to hear it again, go to brothersonlaw.com for all of our previous shows and all things Brothers on Law.
All right, let's check the Mandell message box.
Hi, Brothers on Law. This is Linda from Lake Balboa, and I have a question. My sister, who is an elder, is in a rehab facility after a surgery, and the staff dropped her and actually broke both of her legs, and now she has to be in the facility for much longer. Is there any type of recourse? Are they liable? Thanks. I'd love to hear your advice.
So that's a really good question, right, Larry?
Oh, yeah.
What do you think, John? How would you answer that question?
Well, absolutely. I mean, that was a negligent act to drop someone at a nursing home and have a real negative outcome there, broken bone. So they're in a bad situation.
I actually have a case just like that right now. Where a gal was in a hospital. She had a mental status change, and they were supposed to have her on a alarm if she got out of bed. Some kind of alarm, and it wasn't hooked up, and they weren't watching her, and she wandered completely on the other side of the hospital, fell down, and broke a bone. And it's just, I guess it's just too bad. You got to understand that people do need to be monitored in these situations.
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
That's why they have insurance, too.
Right.
Have you suffered or been injured by someone else's negligence? When you need a legal team that will stand up for what is right, won't give up the fight and obtain justice, call 818-886-6600. Mandell Trial Lawyers specializes in personal injury cases of all types. Whether it's a car accident, product or premises liability, dog bite, or a catastrophic injury, Mandell Trial Lawyers are there for you when the fight is worth it. Call now for your free consultation. 818-886-6600. Let the scales of justice tip in your favor.
Well, it's about time to wrap up our show and sign off. We want to thank John Mason for taking the time and come down here today. We really enjoyed having you on the show, John.
All right, thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome.
That's great.
Wait a minute now.
What?
John, how do people find you?
That's right.
Tell us about,
That's important.
exactly,
That's
your
very
website
important.
and all that.
Yeah, it's my office is here in the Valley. The number is 818-528-5388.
Again?
818-528-5388. You can call us anytime. And you can find us on the web at brightstarcare.com.
Wonderful.
Excellent.
All right,
go ahead.
yeah, you go ahead.
Well, if you've missed
Okay,
any...
I'll do it. No,
All right. No, I'll do it. If you've missed any part of the show and you want to hear it again or you want to listen to our previous shows, go to brothersonlaw.com for all things Brothers on Law.
And to all our listeners, thank you for tuning in, and check out our next week's show at the same time, 8 a.m. here on Go Country 105. And remember,
let the scales of justice tip in your favor.
Brothers on Law.
The opinions expressed in the Brothers-in-Law show are for informational purposes only and are not a substitute for personal professional legal advice.